Hey guys, today I want to talk about body protectors. And I want to talk about body protectors because it's something that not a lot of people are talking about. We talk a lot about helmets and helmet safety, and in the equine world, that's a big thing. And you have your helmet Nazis, and then you have the other side that, don't care about helmets. And I'm kind of in the middle, as with pretty much everything. There's a balance to it. Personally, I don't like helmet Nazis. I am totally 100% pro helmet. I never ride without a helmet, all these years and everything, but it annoys me when I hear helmet Nazis talk, when they use the guilt trips and, worst case scenarios. And I don't know, there's some really mean things that they say, like you don't care about your family or your horse or yourself or, whatever. And that's not necessary. So, right off the top of the bat, I'm letting you know that that's not how I am about helmets, and that's not how I am about body protectors. But it is an important topic, and it is something that I want to address because nobody is talking about it. And so here it goes. Why do you need a body protector? Well, one thing that was very, very interesting to me was in this last crash, which was my biggest crash ever on a horse. The interesting thing that I noticed through all my history of crashes is that even though I knew that we had to be somewhere under 30 miles an hour, I would guess probably, 20, 30 miles an hour, somewhere around there, the speed and stuff, it didn't feel like a 30 mile an hour crash. It felt way more. There was a lot more force involved than just 30 miles an hour. When I say 30 miles an hour, I'm saying 30 miles an hour on my motorcycle, which I've always related my motorcycle to the horse, just kind of interchangeably. So it was really interesting to me, and I was a lot baffled by it. So I decided to run the numbers, because one of the biggest reasons people say that they don't need a helmet or a body protector is because they'll go, well, it's not like I'm going that fast, It's a lot slower than on a motorcycle or whatever. But actually, speed is only one factor. The other factor is the mass. And that is what I didn't take into consideration. So just running a few numbers, and now once again, disclaimer, numbers, to be totally honest, it's incalculable, the amount of impact force on a horse crash. It's very hard to calculate, even in a controlled environment with cars and stuff. If you look at all the studies for car crashes and the safety and all that stuff, they got all the math figured out for that. But on a horse, it's even more complicated, especially since, it's not controlled. There's so many different weight factors of horse, plus even like trying to kick how hard a horse, even trying to calculate how hard a horse can kick totally varies, because a horse can totally decide how hard they're going to kick and all that stuff. But so when I say these numbers, for all you diehard like statistics and numbers people, I know I'm kind of one of them, but these numbers give us an idea. And the point of these numbers is you can't compare the speed of a motorcycle to the speed of a horse running, because there's so much more mass to the horse, and the mass of your tack and your horse combined barreling at a certain speed, you can see how you need more force to move that greater mass along at the speed than a motorcycle. My sport bike weighs about 400 pounds, plus my gear and my own weight probably brings it up to over 500 pounds, around there. Well, Lasser and I together, and we actually stepped on a truck scale, so we got our actual weight is over 1,500 pounds. So you figure it's almost three times the amount of mass, right? So that is the whole premise of what these numbers are based off of. But so like if you're riding your horse at 10 miles an hour and you hit a brick wall, the impact force is going to be about 28 miles an hour on a bike, sport bike, so 500 pounds, right? Going 20 miles an hour is like 55 miles an hour on a bike. Going 30 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour is a good canter. That's 83.3 miles an hour on a bike. Going 40 miles an hour, that's a good gallop, and that's 112 miles an hour on a bike. And going 50 miles an hour is 139 miles an hour on a bike. The fastest I've gone on Lacer is 46 miles an hour, and all I had was my helmet, and that's 112 miles an hour on the bike, and I would never go that fast on my bike without my full body armor, like you've seen in my previous video. So having, you know, these numbers to kind of bring things more into perspective and more in line to what is actually happening, you can see why there are so many people getting hurt out there with equine related injuries, and you know, because we're not really thinking to wear body protection. We just mostly are always thinking about helmets. Now in the UK, it is really popular to wear body protection. It's talked about everywhere. You know, they are very, very big on that. And the only reason that, the only theory I have on why it's more popular in the UK than it is here in the US is that in the US, our equine culture comes from the vaqueros and the cowboy type mentality, and they didn't wear, you know, helmets and body armor. They wore cowboy hats and shirts. The English, their equine culture comes from more dressage, which is the cavalry, which they have uniforms, which is why, you know, they always dress up real nice. You know, it's like the uniforms became the dress for dressage and stuff, the shirts and coats, and, you know, there's a lot, the hunters and stuff, and the helmets. So, you know, maybe that's why. Also, the UK do have very strict standards for safety. I don't know. But what I'm saying, my point for that is, it's not like body protection is a totally new thing or something. It's just not that common out here. But that doesn't mean that it's not real, it's not true, you know, it's not right to wear those. So when you're choosing, if you decide to choose a body protector, all right, let's back up. Why would you decide to choose a body protector? Well, one, the forces are great. The impact forces are great because of the amount of mass that you're dealing with. Not only that, but, you know, if the horse lands on you, if you go over the horse's head, the horse lands on you, that's 1,300 pounds right there. On my little body, I'm 126 pounds. I'm going to get crushed. So I do want something with crushing, you know, ability. Also, you know, they're unpredictable, and anything could happen. If you guys manage to both fall down, and then he's kicking as he's scrambling to get up, and you're getting, you know, punches to the head and the chest and all that stuff. I mean, I'm taking real life examples of everything from my research and putting them here. These are things that have happened, and there are even videos on it, so you can do your own research. But it is more dangerous because you have a whole separate being with you that has a mind of their own, has their own fears, can stumble and fall and stuff like that, and that's not quite as present on a motorcycle. So there are a lot of equine professionals, like veterinarians, that always work with equine vets, that now wear helmets and body protectors when they're working around horses, and that's all the reason why. It's not just about riding. Plus, if you're a helmet advocate, then all of the arguments that go into why you would wear a helmet applies directly into why you would wear a body protector. It's exact same logic. You want to protect your head, you want to protect your brain. Well, what about your spine? Your spine gets knocked out of whack, you're paralyzed for life, right? I think we can all think of a very famous example, how sad that was. if you get crushing blow to your chest and your heart is affected and your lungs are affected, your ribs are crushed and cracked, these are all life-threatening injuries that can totally happen. So all of the same logic applies. Helmet logic and body protector logic. I was really lucky in that in the manner that I fell, I hit 3 points of impact instead of spreading it all 100% into my one side of my body. I hit here, my head, and then all across here. But even then, the amount of force that was exerted did fracture my L3 and L4. And I do wonder what would have happened if I hadn't done that and 100% of that impact force hit my spine. L3 and L4 may have been a lot more fractured than it was. Also, in all the years that I've worn my helmet, all these years I've worn my helmet and I've never really used it, I've never regretted that. And I was only grateful that I had my helmet on for this crash. But all this time that I've been riding without a body protector, and then I didn't have it for this crash, I regret that. So that's another thing to think about. And then the other thing is that the scariest moment of the whole crash was not the crash itself. It was sitting in the ER waiting for my results of, they did the CT scan and all that on me, and waiting for the results because I was in extreme amount of pain. There was pain that I didn't understand what was going on, why this was hurting so bad, because this was a pain I've never experienced before. And also, there was urine in my blood, and I didn't know exactly why there was urine in my blood. And the moment waiting for the results, I was wondering if my kidney was damaged to a point that it was irreparable, if I would need to get that removed. What about my spleen? If I needed a splenectomy, what would that mean? And all that, and running through all these scary possibilities in my head, and the whole time just going, damn it, how stupid. Why didn't I have any body protection on? Because in all my motorcycle crashes, I never had to go through that because I always had full body protection. So, once, I have decided that, okay, yeah, that's all the same logic applies. Why I would wear full leathers on a bike? Why I would want body protection on LeSair. So then, choosing a body protector, it has to be something that you're going to wear, because if you're not going to wear it, then it's not going to do you any good. So it has to be, there's all these factors involved, but the bottom line is it's something that you have to wear. And even the cheapest, dopiest, thinnest body protector is still going to be better than nothing. My only argument with that is even the thinnest one is going to be an extra layer, and it's already, going to make me sweat. It's already going to be uncomfortable and all that stuff. So if I'm already going to go through all of that hassle of putting on body protector, it just better be the best one that there is, because otherwise, make it worth it, that I'm suffering, so that's my only argument to that. But so choosing your body protector, what do you want to think about? One, the biggest one, a lot of people don't even know this, body protectors have to be replaced after every 5 years or after a crash, same as helmets. Think about it, the foam, it's all the technology of the foam in the majority of the body protectors out there is the same as in the helmets. Well, not the same, but similar enough. You are supposed to replace it, and check with the manufacturer. For some reason, a lot of them don't even mention this fact, and but you need to call them up and check with them and push them and find out for yourself if that's true. If it is a foam that is a closed cell design, that means the air is actually enclosed. It's closed cell design. In an impact, that air gets released. That's how it absorbs and dissipates the shock. And then but it destroys the foam in the process, and that's why it has to be replaced after a crash. but there are new technologies out there that don't use a closed cell design, and then those do recover from crashes, and you can use them for multiple crashes. So there is that. But for the majority, I'd say 99% of the vests currently available out there, you do need to replace them after every crash and after every 5 years. Once again, if you don't, and a lot of people don't, if you don't, you know, that's your choice. It just means that it's not going to be as shock absorbing. The protection level is not going to be as high, obviously, as when it was designed to do. It was only designed to be a one-time thing, but you still have a physical something between you and you know, the crash. So that's still something. It's better than nothing. So then a lot of them you'll see is many separate pieces, many small pieces layered together. That is not going to be as good as solid pieces, and that's basic physics. When you spread a force out, if the foam is smaller, it's not going to be able to absorb as much shock as a larger piece. Basic fact, right? But depending on how the small pieces are put together, some manufacturers, they make sure that there's very minimal gap. The less of a gap and the more they are touching, the more seamless it is between the two pieces, the better they are, the better it's going to be at sharing and spreading out the forces. The more of a gap that there is, it's probably going to be more comfortable because it can mold against you, all these separate pieces molding against you, but the protection's not as good because you have a gap and you have a weakness and you have an area that has no protection. Okay, and then a lot of the vests, the only way that they can get beta 3 level protection or the highest level protection is simply by taking their pieces of foam and having multiple layers, 3 to 4 layers of this foam. So it becomes quite bulky and everything. But a good thing about that is that if they are separate pieces or whatever, sometimes they can layer each layer of foam is offset so that there's never a full gap in between the small pieces. So those are all the design points that you can look at. But definitely a solid piece is always going to be better than multiple pieces. How much coverage does it have? A lot of these do not cover the point of the shoulder, and the shoulder is really important for me because your collarbone, clavicle attaches, and also back here your scapula attaches to form the shoulder. And also when I tuck and roll, then I always fall on my shoulder first. Now you're not supposed to hit on the point of your shoulder. You're supposed to hit back here, you know, where it's a nice even distribution. So you roll back here, not at the point, but nothing in a crash is, you know, totally exact. So while I'm trying to tuck and roll, I'll probably still bash my shoulder and everything. But shoulder protection is important. The collarbone gets broken all the time. I'm surprised I've never broken my collarbone. Well, but I've always had full body protection. But anyways, collarbone is really easy to break. So you know, that's something. A lot of vests don't offer shoulder protection, and I zeroed in on the ones that do. Some of them, they look like they don't offer, but if you contact the company and request it, then they do have a separate shoulder piece that you can add on to that. So that's something that you can look into. Also, the flank coverage. This is where I hit over here, at this soft area right here. So I wanted something that had adequate flank protection, and a lot of the ones you'll see, they have laces going down this side here, so that's a weak part. Their back piece and their front piece is joined together by laces or buckles and stuff like that. And that's the other thing. Does it have buckles? Because that buckle is going to be something that's going to be, you know, hitting you in a crash. So I don't want buckles. Let's see how it fits. The fit is important. I say this over and over again. Helmet fit is important because you don't want, when there's a huge impact, for it to move away. And there are cases where the improper fit of the body protector actually created more damage than maybe if they didn't have it at all. Now that sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm not sure. But you know, I can kind of see that. So it has to be a great fit. Make sure you know, contact the manufacturer, whatever. Make sure that you have a properly fitted one. And then is it flexible or is it stiff? All of the ones out there are flexible. Which means, you know, it's comfy. It molds to your body, and especially if you have curves or something, you know, you got your woman parts and stuff, it's going to mold to that, so it makes it more comfortable. But that also makes it tight. It also makes it tighter, you know, especially you have to strap it in. It also makes it less breathable, you know, because it's all like, you know, scrunched in. And the thing that I'm thinking of is it doesn't offer any crush protection. The horse lands on you, is crushing you, doesn't offer any crush protection. And that is where the inflatables came into play. The inflatable vests, their big thing is that you now have something that can hold up the weight, the force, and stuff like that. But we'll get to that later. How hot is it, and how breathable it is. Once again, your comfort, you know, is very important, and all that. Freedom of movement. This is a big thing. My faux leathers are extremely protective, but they're extremely limiting in how I can move. That's a good and a bad thing. The good part is that the restriction in movement actually plays a part in protecting me. I can only move a certain way, so I can't it lessens chance of hyperextension and stuff like that. But on a horse like Lacer, he's way above my head. I need to reach way up high to get up there, and I can't lift my arm any more than this in my race suit. Now, some of the body protectors, once you have it strapped in tight, if it has a solid piece over the shoulder, you do have to watch out about that, because that means that when you lift your shoulder, that whole vest is going to come up. Not a big deal about protection, because, you know, if you're doing something overhead, you're probably safe, but it does mean that it's going to move up. It might catch your chin, it might, you know, hit the back of your helmet, stuff like that. Might be just really uncomfortable to work in, and then, you know, you're going to hate it and you're not going to want to wear it anymore. So and also breathing. A lot of these vests, they're made so that you have to totally strap yourself in order to make it fit right and be snug up against you, and that can make it hard to breathe. So their guideline is make it as tight as possible while still allowing you to breathe. And a lot of people feel claustrophobic in that. I do. I feel very claustrophobic in those types, and I don't like it. Plus, it's hot because it's right up against my skin, and, you know, it's totally strapped in like a corset type, you know. So that's not my favorite. The level of protection, there's everything from the lowest level protection. There's ones on eBay that have never been tested and stuff, totally cheap and stuff. A lot of people use them with success, but, you know, it's not tested, and it's definitely not going to give you as much protection as something that is certified. One of the most popular brands out there is Tipperary, and it was surprising that most of their line is completely non-certified. There are a lot of success stories with it, but there are also some catastrophic results of a person that was supposed to be wearing a beta level 3 type vest, the highest protection, but he was actually only wearing a Tipperary that, you know, didn't meet the beta level 3 protection, and he had traumatic injuries, broke, I can't remember the numbers now, but it was like 10, he broke several ribs on both sides, one which pierced his lung, and so that was like a crushing type injury. And one of the problems with that is they said because of these injuries, all his, you know, not all, but a lot of his ribs were broken, and the rib that was that pierced his lung, they couldn't resuscitate him. So they couldn't do some life-saving techniques that you know, who can say if that would have made any difference, but still, there is that. So there's different levels of protection, and beta level 3 is the highest form, but even then, beta level 3, you look at all the ones that are beta level 3 certified, there's going to be different levels to that, but that's all the information that we get unless you request the actual data and analyze the data yourself. Beta level 3 certification is only a pass or fail. You know, so there are ones that are more superior and ones that are less, but they still pass beta level 3. So, and then the type of protection. Different types of armor is going to offer different kinds of protection. In order to handle force, you can deflect it. Something hard like the hard armor that you see a lot of dirt bikers wear, and I have that type. It's a hard piece of plastic, reinforced plastic thing, and there's barely any foam in it, but it's meant to deflect the force. You know, something hits it and it just slides right off. Deflection, okay? Then there's absorption. That's what we always think about in, you know, foam and stuff. Packing peanuts is all absorption. It absorbs the shock. And then there's dissipation. Dissipation can come in forms like heat. This is the Dainese Pro Armor back protector that I wore, and for my last ride. And this has this honeycomb weave in it, and if you see, there's actually the pattern gets tighter in here where your spine is, because it wants to it needs to dissipate that. And what that means, this is the back side, this is the side that is up against my body, and what this means is that when something hits it, it will spread out the force and it will dissipate it, actually turning it into heat energy. So this kinetic energy is turned into heat, and that's how it dissipates it. What I like about this is that it's super thin, but what I don't like about it is that I had Andy punch me while I was wearing this, and usually with a punch, let's try to see, how can I illustrate this? Usually with a punch, you go in to it, right? So you really only feel the force of the punch like there into the body. But with this thing, what happened is the punch came in and then the force spread out across my back. So it actually felt like a bigger area of my body got hit because it spread it out. And so because of that, I think if I had known this, I think I would have preferred something with dissipation, which this is, plus absorption, so that my body isn't absorbing so much. This has, I don't think this, absorption is not this one's strong suit. But all the different types of armor there, if they're foam and stuff, they're probably going to be more of an absorption type protection. So you also have to look at how often it needs to be replaced. Every 5 years, you know, or after every crash. You gotta, if you're looking at prices, you gotta factor that in. In the inflatable vests, something that not a lot of people know is that the hit air vests are recommended to be replaced every 2 years. There is no service plan or nothing. Point 2 inflatable vests. You can get a service plan. They are recommended to be serviced every year, and they'll make it like new. So that makes it so that you won't ever have to buy an inflatable vest again, because every time you send it in for service, they'll make it like new again. So every year, or after every 6 crashes, or after any one major crash, they want to see it, they want to service it, and they'll make it nice and new and then send it back to you. Of course, then you have downtime and stuff. Inflatables are always recommended to be worn over body armor, because Hit Air specifically had a case, and I spoke with the lady about it, where she crashed and it never went off. She sent it into the company and they said, Well, yeah, it was a malfunction. It's really rare, but it does happen. Sorry. And to me, that's really unacceptable, because if I'm counting on body protection, I need it to be there if I really want it there. So with body armor, you're not going to have that problem. There are also a lot of different ways a horse can crash and you never leaving the saddle. And if that's the case, then you don't have any protection if that doesn't inflate. There's many examples of this, and it's actually a lot more common than you would think. So that is a big concern about the inflatables, and also the fact that you do have to get service and stuff. So a lot of people get the hit air because it's cheaper. It's like $400 or $500 versus the 0.2, which is $600-700. But if you figure in that you have to replace the hit air every 2 years, and you don't have to replace the 0.2, you just have to get it serviced, but there is a fee associated with that. But it is arguably better protection anyways, yeah, so there's a lot of other factors you got to look into. Now, 0.2 does offer a hybrid vest where they went in with Race Safe, which is a great vest, and so they have a hybrid vest all built into one. So instead of having to wear a body armor and the inflatable over it, here's a hybrid. It's a Race Safe, body protector with the 0.2 built in. Seems like an awesome idea. The price is higher; it's about $900. But everyone can agree that with a beta level 3 body armor and something like a 0.2 inflatable vest over it, you're going to get the maximum amount of protection. So that's going to be cheaper to buy the hybrid than to have the two separate ones. Plus it's going to be slimmer and all that. But then I had the thought, wait, Race Safe is one that needs replaced every crash or every 5 years, right? And 0.2, you don't have to replace it if you just send it in to get serviced. So then that's the big Achilles heel on that one. So all of these that I've talked about are all equine body protectors. This is what I got so far, and this is only because I've decided that with my spinal injury, I am now not going to risk hitting my spine anymore. So I'm going to get this standalone back protector because I want to be able to use this for other things as well. If I'm going to go riding a bike or dirt biking or mountain biking or stuff like that, then I can still wear this. So this is what it looks like, and it also has the added benefit of offering a little bit of lumbar support. Also, the good thing about a back protector that absorbs shock and all that is that when you're riding, the shock that travels up your spine through the concussions of just riding actually gets shared. The back protector shares that load, so that's a good thing. But this is the protection. And the great thing about this is that I can, even under my most form-fitting shirts, I can put it right over this, and no one can really tell that I'm wearing a back protector. So I can basically wear this anywhere. And then this is a Harley Davidson vest, but this will help disperse energy, and there's no foam or anything. It's not really a protector, but it's another layer I can put on to dissipate energy and stuff. And it's one of those things that I can wear anywhere, sort of thing. So the main reason for this is to make sure that the back protector doesn't shift or move out of the way if there is an impact. So you can do something like this. There's all kinds of protectors for skiers, for mountain bikers, stuff like that. And you can take one of those and mix and match your own body protector, or you can get an equine one. So the one that I want is, I want something that is form-fitting, that fits well, So I'm looking at custom fit. I want shoulder protection. I want something that will protect me against crushing injuries. And I needed to pass beta level 3 protection, because once again, if I'm already going to be sweating, then why not have the best protection, you know? I'd rather not be going through all that suffering of wearing an Armour just to have the worst protection out on the market. Preferably something that I don't have to replace after every crash or every 5 years, because that'll factor in. And the protector that I found that matches all those criteria, and there is only one, is the Cantech vest. They're made in North Ireland, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get that, but yeah, it's beta level 3. There's shoulder protection. There's no buckles or hard edges. The unique design and technology sets it apart from the competition, blows the competition out of the water. It's the only one that can really protect against crushing injuries, and it recovers after stuff. It's custom fitted. There are no gaps. The technology is from Nox. Yeah, the Nox HR foam outperforms PVC nitriles in every way. Has been reported to actually share the load of shock to your spine while riding. And, you know, it seems like the best one. The other ones that I like are the Race Safe. I do like the Tipperaries. I can't, you know, I can't deny it. They are really, you know, fancy looking. They look great. They have 2 models that are ASTM certified, so it's good protection, and they're comfy, they're light and stuff like that. But yeah, my point is, you know, just get the best one. AeroWear is really nice. The Denisi Balios 3 is really nice. So those are the ones that I considered, and I looked through all of them. So anyways, those are my thoughts on body protection. Hope this just gets you thinking about it. Will I wear body protection all the time, guaranteed whenever I ride? I don't know yet, but I know that the minimum I'm going to wear a back protector, and then and I'm still going through the process of accepting that, you know, I got to have the body protection for every time when I ride and stuff. But yeah, I just want to get people thinking about it, because the logic and the numbers and all that is all there to support the use of it. All right, so if there's any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to share, you know, my data, my sources, and all that stuff with you, so you can see I'm not just making this stuff up and pulling it out of thin air. So yeah, just let me know, and ride safe, everyone. All right, bye.